Hey, welcome to another empowering episode of Strive 365, your go-to source for conquering life's challenges and thriving no matter the hurdles. Whether you're seeking mental, physical, emotional, spiritual growth, we're here to guide you toward a better life. And I'm your host, Justen Arnold, coming from the amazing and incredible ROC VOX studio. Today, we're honored to have Sal Pitti. He's the president of Pitti Group Wealth Management and a distinguished Air Force veteran with a wealth of experience. Sal is a true beacon of unwavering determination and personal development just from our few conversations that we've had. So get ready for an invigorating conversation on breaking barriers and inspiring to your best self with the exceptional Sal. So Sal, why don't you introduce yourself?
That's a great introduction, Justin. Hopefully I can live up to that. Well, thanks for having me on your show. I appreciate it. And I hope some of the things we talk about today can inspire your listeners. And I'm kind of a I guess a quiet go-getter, if you will. I don't do a lot of hype, and my kids know me as just flying under the radar, being persistent at what I do. And I can happily share some of my stories with you and your audience. To know if you want to start out with anything specific, tell you a little bit about my background, I guess. Maybe that'd be a good place to start.
I'm sure we'll get into it, but you said you're a quiet go-getter. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, nowadays with social media being so prevalent, I'm on social media, but I really don't pay a lot of attention to it. And I don't post a lot of things, but I see a lot of folks that, they're on there 24/7, doing their thing and promoting themselves or promoting their business. And it works for them, or seems to work for them, I guess, without knowing specifics. But, I've always been pretty self-motivated. I tend to know what needs to get done, and the people that I need to bring into my circle to get things done. And I try to surround myself with people of like mind and like interests. I guess I'm not out there, besides today, my son wrangled me into this, I think. But besides today, I'm not out there, yelling from the street signs or, putting myself out there on social media and stuff like that about our business. Although we did recently hire a marketing firm to help with some things, but I don't personally like to grab all the spotlight. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Man, that's a humble thing to say. And just from our short conversations, I can see that, and just from hearing it. And yeah, your son, which we'll get into, but you're a similar story to myself, and as far as, and a lot of the guests that we have on here being self-motivated, knowing what needs to get done. People that are going to build you up. I'll touch briefly on the social media. I'm with you on that. I actually was so resistant to it, but I've hired numerous business coaches. So I run a gym, a training facility, and all of them, it's like marketing on social media. It's where all your clients are. And I'd like to believe they're right, but majority of mine have come from word of mouth. So like I would say, I don't have like a specific percentage, but I would probably put it about 97, 98 of my clients are where I'm out there, repeat clients, customers, call it what you will. But I started upticking. I hired a new person because I wanted to be able to work with more people and have more mobility with my business, just because of where my life is. And so I started working to try and come online, and I've been very active on social media, and I can tell you it does help, but you've got to have boundaries and limitations, and like set time stamps and be very diligent to not be distracted because it's so easy with the algorithms. But anyways, I won't go down that rabbit hole unless you want to later. But yeah, it was your son. Your son watched at least one, if not more, episodes of our podcast or listened or something. And he reached out to me like right away on social media, on Facebook, I believe. And man, that kid loves you. So he talked you up, man. And that, not that people don't reach out to me. I have people that reach out to me, but it was unique to see a son talk up a father so much that I was like, I have to at least be curious and check this thing out because that hasn't happened. And like I've had people reach out wanting to be on, like, why haven't you had me on yet? Like almost like upset. And I've had people just like, you should put me on. But this was different because it was like somebody else reaching out for somebody else, and it just happened to be a father-son. And I just thought, man, there's got to be something cool about his dad. So yeah. So it was your son, which is awesome. Like, I assume that you guys just have some amazing relationship, obviously personally, way beyond professionally.
Well, I don't know how much you know about Anthony, but he is, he can make friends with anybody. He's always been a very social person, always been, life of the party type guy. He's got a great sense of humor. I'm not exactly sure why he looks up to me, but I think I try to lead by example and be as good of a person as I can be, and I think he sees that. I've got two boys, Anthony and Matt, and they're both quite different from one another, but they do share some similarities. Anthony, again, really outgoing. Matt, on the other hand, a little bit more reserved, but Matt always has to be around his friends. He loves being around other people. Maybe not quite as an extrovert as Anthony, but everybody loves both of them for their own reasons. And, I think the one common trait that they have is they're both very good people. Very honest, very trustworthy, very sincere. And I've tried to raise them to be humble as well. And I think those are great qualities. And I think they see that in me. I try to live it every day. And, if I did one thing right, while raising them, I certainly raised them with the right values, or I should say we raised them. My now ex-wife and I think we did a great job raising our kids. So that's probably our one true success story.
Man, you speak highly of your children, and at least from my experience briefly with Anthony, he speaks highly of you. And at least from my experience, I feel like that's a rarity, where a father and son speak highly. For example, a lot of the people I work with, and, I do both personal training, life coaching, nutrition, especially the life coaching component. There's relationship issues, there's father issues, there's mother issues, there's things like that, sibling issues. And so it's and maybe it's just because of who I'm around and the stories that I hear. But I feel like it's unique, the relationship that you guys
think
have.
So.
I know it's not a unicorn, but I feel it's unique.
Yeah. I think my boys, not only do they work together and they work with me, every day, but they live within a mile of each other, and they're always talking. They've been pretty much best friends growing up, and have remained that way. I feel, from my perspective. On the other hand, I grew up in a family of four, and I can't say that I'm close to I'm really close to one of my brothers, but two out of the other siblings I rarely talk to, not purposely, but we just don't have a lot in common. now both live out of state, and I don't see them a lot. But I don't think we've ever been truly close siblings, with the exception of me. Well, I'm the oldest out of the four, and my youngest brother, Ron. We just seem to have the most in common, and I think we hit it off because of that.
That's just interesting, siblings. Like I have two older brothers, and there's one I get along really well, but he's totally different than me. And there's one that similar I don't really talk to that often. And I have three children, and of course, to give you their ages, give you an idea, they're 13, 10, or 13, 11, or my goodness, they're 14 now because they just had birthdays, 11 and 7, and about to be 8 in November. Two girls and a boy in the middle, and they're all very different, but they all get along great, and I hope that stays. But yeah, I wonder, do you ever wonder if like your relationships with your siblings, or maybe how you grew up, could contribute to the way that you fathered or parented, and the relationship that you have with your children?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think about that a lot. I wonder, because I do see, I would say the most, out of all the families that I know, and looking at their siblings, the kids, I don't see a lot of them very close. There's always some, I don't know, whether it's sibling jealousy or competitiveness or whatever the case might be, but you don't find very, very often that the brothers and sisters, family members remain close. I kind of see them trail apart in most circumstances. We brought up our kids overseas. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but they spent their childhood, most of their childhood, in Italy when we were stationed in the Air Force. And, they had to rely on each other. They had to be around other people that didn't speak English. They had to adapt to babysitters that did not speak English. They had to
Do they know Italian?
Adapt. Pardon me?
Do they know Italian for that? Like, I feel
Well,
like they had to figure it out.
They picked, when we lived there, they certainly picked it up a fair amount. I don't think today, because they haven't practiced in quite a number of years, I don't think today they could string a sentence together, but certainly they understood when someone was speaking to them what was being said. So I think kids pick that stuff up quicker than adults do. But that might have had something to do with it. I don't know. I like I said, I think about that a lot, and I'm not sure what the cause was to have two kids that are so close to one another and still remain very close friends today and coworkers.
So let's talk about that, the Air Force. You were in the Air Force. How long were you in the Air Force for?
I was in the Air Force for 5 years.
What years was it? Oh, go ahead.
My wife actually spent, when I got out, she was still in. I think she spent close to 20 years in, if I remember correctly.
Oh, wow. So you guys met in the Air Force.
We met in the Air Force back in the 80s. So
okay.
I was stationed in Italy, and she was stationed there as well. And we met a couple years in after living there.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, you served in the intelligence field, correct?
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
Okay. And so what were you doing there in Italy? Or can you not tell us?
I can tell you now. It used to be classified. I would have had to kill you, but I can tell you now.
Scott, you may want to earmuff this one. No, I'm kidding.
We actually had a communications base, a big antenna that surrounded the base. And the idea there, we were part of NATO, and we would spy on the Russians during the Cold War. We would intercept communications via voice, Morse code, data transmissions. We would take that communications data and tell the National Security Agency, which was in Fort Meade, Maryland, what was going on, where they were moving troops to, where they were flying their military aircraft, where VIPs were being shuffled to, all in anticipation that if something were to break out, we were going to be prepared in advance. So we knew where, they were sending tanks, or if a VIP was visiting a foreign country, we'd plot their aircraft location. So it was really interesting. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how I ended up there, but I did score pretty well on an aptitude test, and they gave me the option of going to Minot, North Dakota, Okinawa, Japan, or San Vito, Italy. If the choice was obvious, since I'm Italian, I took the Italy destination.
I mean, I'm not Italian,
just absolutely
but I would have
loved it.
Yeah, I would have picked Italy over like Dakota.
Who wants to go there?
No. Yeah, we haven't planned any trips there. So I'm sure there's some cool stuff. No offense to the Dakotas that might be listening to this.
Right.
No, so you served in the intelligence. What'd your wife do in the Air Force? Just curious.
She was also in that field. So she collected data, would bring it to me. I would analyze it, and then I would send it on. So that was how we met.
Interesting. So you served in the Air Force. You served in the intelligence field. You were you in other countries other than Italy, or just Italy?
Well, for work, no. For the Air Force, I was not. But I did get to travel a lot. We worked crazy schedule. We'd work 3-day shifts from 7 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, have a day off, worked from 3 till 11 p.m., have a day off, and then 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., and then they give us 3 days off. During that 3 days off, I was out. I wanted to travel. I wanted to see the country. I wanted to see Europe. We'd take ferries to Greece. We'd take a bus up north. We'd just do whatever we could and try to fit it in that 3-day span.
Well, would you say that experience too? I mean, even though it's like 20 for your wife, I think you said, and 5 for you, would you say those have like shaped you in any way, or is there any?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Well, the first thing I can tell you is I don't need an alarm clock.
I hear that a lot.
My body wakes up. The discipline of being in the military. You learn, I guess, above all else, being disciplined, whether it's discipline at work with your superiors or your coworkers, or being able to get up on time for your shifts, being able to get the job done without someone overseeing your every move, being able to live in a foreign country without mommy and daddy at age 18, and making it on your own. I think it was a great experience. And if it was up to me, I think it would be a great experience for everyone coming out of high school to experience, serving in the military for a year or two, just understanding what that sacrifice means to, potentially give up your life for the good of the country if needed. It gives you a respect, not only of what the U.S. represents, but a respect for all the other people around you that signed on the dotted line, that are basically, on 9/11, it almost brings a tear to my eye to think about having this discussion today, because there's a lot of military people on the lines today and doing their thing, trying to protect the U.S. from ever experiencing something like that again.
Yeah. Is that why you signed up?
Not initially. Initially, I got to be honest, I signed up because we came from a relatively poor family. My mom and dad came over on the boat when they were young. They only finished grade school education. They didn't speak a word of English when they came over. And my dad worked, 3 jobs trying to support the family and, put clothes on our back and food on the table. So I signed up to pay for college. We didn't have the money. My parents weren't able to pay. I had nothing at age 18, and I didn't want to take out thousands of dollars worth of loans to go to college. But I knew I wanted to go to college. I knew I wanted more for my life. I knew I could achieve more. And that was a way that I could do it through the GI Bill. So that was my initial intent when I signed up for the Air Force, is to help pay for college. So I ended up getting my bachelor's and my master's degree while I was in the Air Force in those 5 years,
There you go.
while also raising a family.
Yeah, and man, we were just at the air show here, and they're all out there, and it's just amazing, like all that they offer. In fact, they changed even their recruiting age now to I think the Air Force. It was, I don't remember what it was, but now it's almost like I was there, and they were trying to recruit me because I assume because I'm fit. I'm like, I'm 42. I've aged out. I was like, actually, we've changed things now. I'm like, what? I'm good, but it's just interesting.
Really?
They're making, if you're in good shape or good health and, maybe even have a college degree, which I do, it's, you'd be surprised. So people that are out there, you can still serve. You haven't aged out if you're in your 30s, and maybe even according to them, maybe they're just trying to sell me about 42. I think it'd just be in state work. It'd be reserve type stuff, but anyways, I digress. So is there any other memorable moments or lessons or things you wanted to share? And we'll still talk about Air Force because I want to get into I know you received some awards and stuff, but is there any memorable moments you can think of or lessons that you haven't already shared?
I think being brought up in an Italian household where, I saw my dad, he wasn't the dad that I was, and he wasn't the dad that my kids now are to their children. My dad was a workaholic. He was not into being at, my soccer game, if I could even go play soccer. It was more taking the next painting job or working at the bakery, or he bought this house with 25 acres on it and had put an apple farm on there and some land to grow tomatoes and corn and beans, and put a fruit stand in the front and sold his fruits and vegetables out at the stand. And we were part of that. We were there every day helping to pick apples and fertilize and spray. And I think not only did the Air Force teach me some discipline, but you get discipline when you're brought up in a conservative, hardworking Italian family that has nothing, and you get clothes from hand-me-downs, and you learn pretty quick what you have to do, or I learned pretty quick what I had to do to not work as hard as my dad. I work probably as hard, but I work differently. And I didn't want my kids to feel like we did when we were growing up. I didn't want my kids to have to bust their butts before school, right after school, run home and, do all the errands and everything else. I wanted my kids to enjoy their childhood. So, I guess one of the lessons that I took away from my childhood was I needed to pick myself up and do something with my life. I didn't want to kind of fall into just doing the same thing that I grew up doing. I knew I needed to do better. I needed to make a decent living. I wanted to travel. I wanted to meet people. I wanted to explore things. And that's what really drove me and where I think I got my my drive to do more with my life.
Yeah, it sounds like it sounds similar to me in that, you don't know a lot about me, but I grew up with workaholics too. I had parents that worked, they were master's degree educators making pretty decent money, but they had this mindset, almost a limiting mindset, that poor mindset, because their parents grew up during the Great Depression, and they always had to work. Even on the weekends, there was work. My dad did grow up on a farm. I actually learned. So I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, but I would spend my summers, once I could do farm work, which was basically the age of, I want to say like 7, I would spend my summers in Western Illinois working on my grandma's farm, hay baling, corn husking, working with pigs, cattle. I got stories all day, but so you mentioned discipline and that kind of stuff. And I agree 100%. It taught me hard work. I can work with my hands. I enjoy doing it. It's a sense of accomplishment, but it sounds to me like you learned from your parents on what you wanted your parenting to be. You didn't say it, but it sounds like you have a level of respect instead of you're not living like, oh, I didn't get to do all this. You're like, my parents did this. I'm paraphrasing, did the best job they could. And it learned that I wanted to do it better. My parents are doing it because they loved me, but I want to spend time with my kids. I want to go to my kids' soccer games. Same idea. We didn't really go on vacations. We didn't, the weekends were yard work or whatever.
Yes,
my dad,
right. It was a rare vacation, right?
Yeah, we did a couple, but not really, because it was always a money thing, so, which probably explains, is this part of why you got into the career that you're doing now? Let's transition a little bit. I feel like from what I'm hearing here, you wanted to teach people how to learn to manage money better so they could live, not work all the time. Maybe I'm just imagining that's why, but it sounds like there would be.
You're on
okay.
It's very much so part of why I got into the business that I got into. Not only did I want to be able to make money, and by the way, I'll just say I love the work. If I'm not physically and mentally exhausted at the end of the day, I don't feel good about myself. I need to be happy.
I can relate.
I'm sure in your business, working out.
All of it. Physical, mental. I schedule time with my kids. I play hard, work hard.
Exactly.
But continue.
Exactly. But yes. So getting back to your question, was it one of the reasons why I got into the business that I did? Yeah, it certainly was. I always had an interest or fascination with money and investing, and there's a million ways people make money, right? Whether it's making money through their employer or making money through real estate or developing or building or W-2 or entrepreneurship. I just always wanted to think about, what other opportunities are there? And I took a class, when I was 18, I think it was, I was getting ready to go in the military, and my dad had started putting some money away with this financial advisor. And he offered a class, finance 101 class. I guess it was called something really basic. And I went to it, and I think IRAs had just come out recently. So you could put $2,000 into an IRA. And we talked about that, how it would grow if I started at age 18. And I had been working for Wegmans starting at 16 and working part-time and bringing carts in from the parking lot, bring them in the store. And I saved a little bit of money and, through working at home as well, saved a little bit of money, and I wanted to do something with it. So he showed me, the $2,000 a year in for till 65, and you'll be a millionaire. I was like, what? A millionaire? For $2,000? That's easy. $2,000 a year? And yeah, just a compounding effect at 8%. You could easily be a millionaire by the time you're 65. You don't have to put in any other money. I don't think I can say the S word, but I was like, wow, that's really cool. I can do that. So I did. I started putting money into a couple of mutual funds. And when I went in the military, I would go to the library and do some research on, where the next 2,000 was going to go into. And friends of mine would come up to me and ask what I was doing. Back then, there was no internet, so it was all, periodicals and
you mean you read and had to talk to people in person? What?
Right. And they would come up to me and I would explain what I was doing, and got some of my friends to do it as well. And I thought, geez, this is kind of fun. I'm kind of giving advice to my friends on what they should be doing with their finances, and paying down debt if they had any. So when I got out, it was just kind of a natural thing. I thought this is kind of where I wanted to go, maybe into banking, maybe a brokerage, financial advisor type organization. But when I got out, I couldn't find work. Here's a guy with a bachelor's and master's, and couldn't find work. I ended up working for Rite Aid for a period of time, being a store manager, which absolutely sucked.
No, I did that for a minute. Not Rite Aid, but similar. Yeah, I feel that.
I hated it. Oh, I hated every day of it. But nonetheless, I was putting food on the table, and I had 2 kids, and we had to pay bills and a mortgage and stuff. So you do what you do to get by. And then finally got hired. I was Dean Witter at the time. Saw an ad, applied on Monday. They called me on Wednesday, and they hired me on Friday. So I was ecstatic. I was going to take a pay cut, though. And I told my dad, I said, I'm making, back then it was $30,000 a year at Rite Aid. I said, I'm going to go down to
what year
21.
was this? So people can get an idea.
It was 94, I believe.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah. 94. Yeah.
94. So I said, I'm going to go down to 21,000 a year, but I'll be able to make commissions and fees on other revenue products that we deal with. He's like, are you crazy? You've got a family, you've got a mortgage. Don't do it. Stay where you're at. Right? Make decent money.
Stay comfortable.
Stay comfortable.
But it's more being uncomfortably comfortable. Yeah.
Right. I said, no. I can't do this. Not only do I hate it, but I knew I could do more. I had it in me. I knew if I work hard, I could be successful. And so I did. I said, I'll take it. And within 2 years, I was making more than when I left Rite Aid. Within 4 years, I was making 4 times more.
Wow.
Than when I left Rite Aid. So, I was on cloud 9. I was making 6 figures and feeling good about it. But it was encompassing. I was working my tail off. I would come home and I'd be working when I got home. working on weekends, putting together my next seminar presentation. That's how we got new business. And, I figured one of the guy that hired said, Sal, if you work, forget exactly how the saying went, but if you work hard for the next 4 or 5 years, I wish I could remember the saying. He said it so eloquently, but it'll take care of you for the rest of your career, because it'll just continue to snowball after that. People will like you. People will trust you. They'll refer. You said it earlier, word of mouth. That's where, 98% of our business comes from. And that's kind of in a nutshell, how I got started.
Yeah. So you worked there, and obviously you transitioned from a corporate role into founding Pitti Group Wealth Management. So that must have presented its own challenges. I mean, and did Dad say, don't do it, don't do it?
Well, 21 years as a W-2 employee, and, very successful, doing my thing, but it became monotonous, and I didn't know what I didn't know as a W-2 employee in that business, in that role.
Yeah.
And, the business had changed. It was no longer commission-based business. It was more fee-based. And I started exploring what else was out there. And I kind of had a feeling there was more opportunity to be had going independent versus being a W-2 employee. So it's a digging, and it's a big move. One of the biggest fears of my life was making that transition from a W-2 employee to your own business, your own practice. And the reason why is the firm you leave doesn't want you to leave, and they will go after your book of business, if you will. So we had 50 other advisors in the office, and as soon as you post your resignation, they try to swoop in and take your clients from you to stay at the firm. But I had to believe my clients were with us for us, and not because we worked at XYZ brokerage firm. And I believed that with my soul, my heart and soul. I truly thought, these people are loyal to me. They're not loyal to the firm. So I could work anywhere, and they would follow me because they trust me. My son, Matt, had been with me at the time for, I believe, 8 or 9 years already. We made the decision in 2016 to make that leap. And in a month, I had lost probably 12 pounds because I was so stressed that I wasn't eating because we were moving all of our business over. But within a month, 97% of our clients had moved over with us. And within 60 days, we brought over the last 3%. There was a couple of stragglers that we didn't bring over because we didn't really want. But it was a successful transition. And looking back, the only regret I had is maybe I should have done it earlier. But it's been awesome.
Yeah, so I used to work for a corporate place. I was a lead trainer position, and it was my wife's idea to start a business for similar reasons, but more on that within my line of work, you're held to, you can only do this by working for this.
Exactly.
When in my arena, health should be have no really borders or limits, especially when everybody operates at different levels and personalization and, you know, what I dive into, everything from movement to gut health, you know, the gamut. So when you're putting almost like ceilings and walls around people and their health, you're limiting the capacity at which they can truly be helped, which is why I got into it in the first place. It was more about the profit versus the people, and I was frustrated by that. And same idea, I gave the people the option, you can stay here. I'm starting this. I'm doing this for the betterment of the people that I am currently helping and hope to help. And I think, you know, I had a lot of clients too, because I was working, you know, 60, 70 hours a week. And I think only 2 didn't come. So similar story. So it's cool to hear that in the financial world. And so I just wanted to bring that up because don't just think it's a financial thing or a training. Like if you're hesitant or there's fear, I had fear, but when I fully let go, and I'm sure the same thing for you, it took off, and it took off for me too. And so I'm glad you shared that. That's a pretty cool story. And I'm glad you guys are still around and doing what you're doing. So yeah, this popped in my head because we've touched a lot on kids, and it seems like you guys have a pretty good relationship, and it's a little off topic from the financial, and we'll get back to it. But I'm curious, is there something your kids don't know that you would want them to know that could help in their life that you haven't shared with them yet, that you feel comfortable sharing on here?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
You know, there's probably so much. So I told you earlier that I was pretty quiet. I probably don't communicate to my kids as much as I should. You know, I'm so proud of both of them. There's something, my brain is running in a million different directions.
What's the first thing that popped up into your head then?
I think the fact that I'm so proud of the men that they've become. So Anthony's 34, Matt is 39. They're both husbands, fathers to two each, and they've become amazing young men. You know, I'm going to take 100% full credit for it. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, you should take some credit even in your mistakes, because it's not, I mean, I don't know much about Anthony's personal life, but he sure like loves his family, at least. That's the majority of what he's like posting on social media, his kids, his wife,
Absolutely.
and everything else. And that seems to be his joy. Oh, and then he posts about Green Bay Packers, which I'm a Bears fan, so, you know, but don't tell him.
They both love their football, yeah.
But I believe I think you did a good.
I think the fact that they've become such amazing dads, and to watch them around their families and their kids is just so heartwarming. Besides the fact that you know, I get to see them daily at work, and they've been very successful business people as well. But I think obviously their family lives would probably be the thing that I'm most proud of.
That's awesome. So our podcast is all about striving and pushing through obstacles. So it seems like you maintain a pretty optimistic or at least positive mindset, and you stay motivated, especially when confronted with any kind of adversity. You're not looking at as defeats. You're looking at from the way you grew up to everything you've shared so far. So whether it's your business or personal life, is there something you'd like to share? A specific challenge that you face in your career or personal life that you overcame, just thinking about the embodiment and the spirit of striving and thriving through adversity?
You know, there's obviously been a lot. I guess one of the biggest challenges that I've gone through in my life was going through a divorce. You know, that's probably a huge challenge for a lot of people, but you know, you just try to stay positive. You know, I told you earlier, I'd like to try to surround myself with people of like mindset. I want to be around positive people. And if someone starts being negative, I tell them, hey, you know what? That's not going to get you anywhere. That's not a good place to be. Let's not talk like that. Let's think positive. Think about the fact that, this bad thing happened, but look at this. You've got so many good things that are happening. And go through divorce, you financially, it's a killer. I could have obviously retired years ago if I wanted to, although I probably never will retire because I love what I do and, I love working. But, financially, it's gut-wrenching. Emotionally, it's gut-wrenching. Psychologically, it's just so stressful to go through that. You're hurting so many people. You're hurting each other, especially when it's not mutually on both parties. It's stressful on the kids. But, you just have to think about longer term, and it's about being happy yourself. And if you're not in a good spot mentally and emotionally, you owe it to yourself to get there, because you don't owe, I feel like I don't owe anything to anyone for my happiness. I have to create my own happiness. And that means being happy mentally, emotionally, physically. I need to stay active and fit. And I will just surround myself with the people that help make me feel that way. They help. I mean, they can't make me feel that way, but they can help by the support they give you, right? Your kids and your friends and your family, just being around those types of folks that can give you that support and, you boost up every time you need a little kick in the pants or a little pat on the back or whatever the case might be. So
yeah, you need people in your life that are going to push you in a positive way, but also be there for you and congratulate you at the same time. I mean, I agree with you, and I agree with you on that. In fact, I touch on this in a book that I have coming out. The plan is later this year, but between editing and all those phases, anywho, like you have to create your own joy, your own happiness, and I'm with you on that, man. How old are your kids, by the way, with the divorce?
How old were they? Gosh, Anthony was sophomore in college, if I remember correctly.
Okay, so they were older.
Well, he had to be
How'd
20,
they take it? How did they take it? How were they during that whole situation?
They took it pretty well, actually.
You guys were married for a while. How long were you guys married for the divorce?
Yeah, 21 years. I was married 21 years. Yep. Yeah. It didn't seem to come as a big surprise to them. I think they probably sensed some unhappiness between us. So I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I don't think they were too surprised. I'm sure it's tough when you see your parents go separate ways. I'm sure it had an emotional impact on them. But I think it's probably good that Matt had his own ROC and his own family in place. And Anthony was in a good place in college with his own support system and friends around as well.
So question, if you feel comfortable answering, is there anything you would have changed or anything you think you could have done differently to avoid it, the divorce?
No. Okay. I got married, we met when I was 20. I was a kid. I was just trying to figure out, what's next. So one of the things I didn't mention is my oldest, Matt, is my adopted son. Okay. Cheryl had him prior to us meeting. And, when we met, we hit it off. We were friends. I would help take care of him from time to time. I adored this kid. And, we just grew together. We grew up together, if you will. So I was a kid, he was a kid, and, we just, I think we bonded, and that was probably one of the reasons why Cheryl and I ended up getting married when we did. But I was just too young. I probably, in hindsight, didn't know exactly what I was doing at that time, or what true love really was. But we stuck it out.
My wife and I know currently two people very close to us that are going through the divorce processes, and their kids are younger. Their kids are around, in and around our age. They're still under 18. It's painful. Yeah. So I can really imagine, and we're witnessing it, and we're just there for them if they need us. But let's bounce around. So we have a few minutes left. We got to get to the financial, that's driving, right? So I'm sure you could talk all day. We could spend 4 hours on this, but in your experience as a financial planner, what on this podcast advice could you give that someone could take with them to help them strive, whether it be securing financial futures or practical steps to achieve financial goals, or anything that you're like, man, I can give somebody this. I'd like to tell them this right now, even if they never hire us or hire anybody. Something along that.
Yeah. My best advice, I think that I could give someone is don't lose money. And I know it sounds super because people are going to lose money. You're going to lose money in the markets. But what I mean by that is you can't lose money. You can't lose so much money that it will set you back and you never recovered from it. So your losses have to be small. So you're going to make mistakes, right? Whether you're in my business or you're an investor or you're in a different business, you're going to make business mistakes. You're going to make investment mistakes. Those mistakes have to be minimal. And minimal is subjective, right? To a multimillionaire, they could lose hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that could be minimal. So I think the key is keep your mistakes small, keep your risk, know what your risk, your loss of risk is, your potential risk, I should say, and what the potential outcome could be. And from there, you just have to make informed, smart decisions with your money, on where to put it. Take classes, get involved with a good accountant, learn about the tax laws. Being around people that you trust. You don't have to be an expert in all your affairs, in your financial affairs. You just have to be surrounded by people that are experts.
I'll add shop around for a good accountant too, just like you would a doctor, hopefully, or any other professional. Even I'm a trainer, shop around to one that works, because I made the mistake of just going with a friend's recommendation. I'm sure he's good, but he wasn't good for me. Like at my first accountant when I started my business, but my third accountant, and he's still our accountant to this day, and he's worth every penny. And so I just wanted to give that tip. And I've learned tax laws because of him. My first two, I just trusted him way too much, but that was my naivety to a new business owner and not knowing. So don't make my mistake, but I'm glad you brought that up, because I haven't brought that up in a podcast before. And that's not just for business owners. That's for anybody. Like, shop around. You might be good, but there's always better. I'll give you a small example. Like write-offs, for example. There are things I wasn't writing off for 2, maybe 3 years in my business because they weren't asking. And then finally, I had the accountant that I have today who asked really good questions. And one of them was like, where's all your entertainment expenses? I was like, I can write that off.
Right.
And numerous of other things. Like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, well, if you
That
do
adds
business
up,
or
right?
like I wrote a book, for example, if you like go to a book thing or you go at a concert and you sell a book, like he mentioned all these things. Started listening. I was like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So, and it's all within the tax laws, and I've learned so much. So.
No, that's great advice. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's actually really, really good advice. And I even was going to ask, but you kind of already talked about it, was, what are some misconceptions or mistakes? And it sounds like you touched on that, unless there was anything else as far as some common mistakes you come across.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen people just get involved with something that I feel like is going to be so detrimental that they'll never be able to bounce back from. I mean, those are the life-changing, life-altering mistakes. And, like I said, and maybe it's the conservative upbringing that I've had, but it's worked for me. I take chances here and there, but I know what my limits are. And I would encourage everyone, just as you said, to shop around, find a good financial advisor, find a good fitness coach, trainer, find a good accountant, find people that work for you, doctors, especially. One of the things, I'll just leave you with this one last thought. My dad, who was if you would have seen him in his day, he probably looked like you, very fit, very active. 85 years old, never sat down for, more than 30 minutes at a time just because he had to eat at some point. But he ends up having a stroke a couple of years ago and now finds himself in a nursing home. And it's the most devastating thing that he had to go through, for sure, but also on the family side. And it's another, I guess, part of that is we had to, learn a lot about how to protect his assets and, making sure that he got into the best care facility for his situation. So shopping around for care facilities and making sure that you're talking to the right people that can protect his nest egg to the best way possible. But there's a million examples I could probably think of, but I just wanted to share that last one.
Well, you look lean and healthy. I mean, is it the 12 pounds of stress that you lose every year? No, I'm kidding. But what do you do before we wrap it up here?
Yeah, I physically, I stay active. This morning, before I started work, I went for a 45-minute walk. I like to golf. I usually push my cart and walk the golf course.
That's such a key, right?
Yeah, I mean,
the cart part.
it also helps me mentally gauge for the day. Start thinking about things, and I work out with weights. Not to the extent that you do, but just
you don't
enough
know that you might be doing the exact same workout.
I want to feel good in the clothes that I wear, right? If my jeans start to get tighter on the waist, something's...
And once you say that it affects your personal, your professional, your mental, like all of that, right? The movement.
Totally. Absolutely.
And you're doing all the right things. I always tell people, walks are great. You don't necessarily have to run, but lifting weights is probably one of the best things, and you can create a cardio environment. And I always say, especially as you age, you're losing muscle and bone density. And one of the best ways to increase that and minimize its loss is resistance training. So it doesn't have to be the CrossFitter, doesn't have to be the Justen Arnold. It's just like, I just say try to move every single joint every single day and try to stimulate every muscle group, especially the major ones. It's really simple, but it's not easy, right? And then that comes down to motivation, procrastination, laziness, and motivation. So why don't we just wrap it up on those tones? What are some other personal growth, mental, emotional, spiritual things that maybe you're doing? And how old are you? I don't think we even said it.
I'm 58.
there you go, at 58, that you've been doing maybe for a long time, or things you would like highly encourage people that to incorporate into their lives to help them thrive every day?
Well, yeah, I mean, spiritually, I guess I'm a pretty spiritual person, although I'm not the type of person that's going to go to church every Sunday. Those days are gone. But I do have my beliefs. And I think, I guess my view on life is that, life is a journey, and I want to be healthy. I want to be active. I want to be around a while. I want to feel good about myself. I want to expand my knowledge and my friendships. And I want to enjoy that journey every day. And if you're not taking care of yourself, there's some things that are beyond your control, right? You have a stroke tomorrow and, your life changes forever. But the things that I can control, my blood pressure and my cholesterol and those types of things, I want to get checked. If there's something wrong, I want to make sure that I catch it quickly. Seen too many of my friends, end up with medical issues that they just kind of put off. And, probably my dad is one of those. That
you seem, this whole time, you've just seemed really calm. Like, and you just talked about like controlling what you can, but do you meditate, or you just always been this way? Like,
no, I've always been this way. People tell me that all the time. They talk to me, they're like so relaxed that you're talking to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just been, I don't get real agitated over anything. I don't get super excited over anything. I got it pretty, I've got a band that I work within, and it works for me. But I like to have fun, and I like to have a positive mental outlook.
But there's nothing specifically that you're doing. Like, you just who you are. Like, do you attribute to anything? Nothing. You don't like, my dad was always stressed out, so I didn't want to be like, there's nothing you attribute to, or you're just that way?
I think, I wish I could put my finger on, this is why I am the way I am. And it might be genes, might be the way I was brought up. I'm not sure, but, I work in a high pressure, high stress environment when I'm managing people's livelihoods. I'm managing their entire net worth. And if I get excited, or if I get depressed, or if I get emotional, I'm not going to make the best decisions. I'm going to make emotional decisions, and I have to take emotions out of my everyday life because of that.
So I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is, because so many people have these high stress or do the same job you do and carry it home. You've made the correlation that you can't make it emotional to be the most successful for your clients. So it sounds like you've detached that,
absolutely,
which has created a mindset, and it's probably part of your subconscious. So I think you just answered that.
I don't think I thought about it until you made me think about it.
You're welcome.
Yes, thanks. I appreciate that.
I'm glad I could be of so well. I mean, this has been a great episode. We covered a lot. I know people will find value, especially on that last part, but all throughout your stories. And even if anything, your sons, I know, are going to listen to this and love it. But is there anything else before we wrap it up here that you'd like to share, that you're like, man, whether it be a success moment, whether it be something you want people to hear in case they never hear your voice again?
That's good. No, I mean, I just want to say thank you to you for, bringing me on board and letting me tell a little bit of my story. And I certainly hope it has an impact on even one person out there that listens to it. That would be a success, in my opinion. But yeah, no, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share.
Yeah, man, this was chill. Like, I'm ready to go meditate and drink a glass of tea after just hanging. No, you're a cool dude. I really appreciate it. And thank you again. This has been a real pleasure. it's really cool to hear your story and how you're able to, like, where you came from to where you are now, and the family legacy that you're leaving, and just what you've been able to do with your life, and just the mindset you've had to just keep striving through everything, and what you grew up in, and using your examples, and just a positive, the way that you talk about your life has been incredible. So thank you very much, Sal. And, for those that are listening, we know that one person can benefit. And if you heard this and you're like, man, I think somebody could benefit, that's where you like it. That's where you subscribe to it. And that's where you share it, because this is not, we do not make any money from this podcast. This is completely free, given out to you to provide a service to help at least one person, just like Sal said. And we're helping dozens, if not hundreds, just by what we're seeing, and we're hearing feedback, and we're loving it. So keep sharing, keep liking, and we're on all platforms. If you did not know that, if you heard this on Spotify, we're also on YouTube, and we're on every single platform possible. So again, like, share, subscribe. And we'll have his information on the show notes below, so look for that. You do need a financial advisor, because, man, he'll definitely calm you down for sure, and put things in perspective, and he's got a team of people to do it. So thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of Strive 365. Take care.